From the first film opening with that intense car chase to hanging from the side of a horse and firing guns in the streets of New York, the John Wick franchise has always given us the best stunts, but it seems like they went too far this time. John Wick himself thinks so. Keanu Reeves has always been a hands-on actor when it comes to performing stunts for his movies, though he takes method acting to a whole new level. In John Wick 4, the car stunts raised questions about whether the team had pushed their luck. The film industry has already been on the edge when it came to these risky sequences because of what happened to Paul Walker. So as you can see, car stunts have a pretty high risk factor, and Keanu does admit that he's had his concerns while performing these stunts. In an interview, he said that you've got to be careful when you're doing car stuff. The Boogeyman also gave credit to his team because if it weren't for them, things might have gone south.
We're smashing people, hitting people. It's just amazing.
We've shot some stuff that pushes John Wick to the limit.
Have we gone too far?
I think that's one good thing about the John Wick team. They know how to prioritize safety and at the same time get some sick action sequences. With Keanu's input and a team of experts, they've been able to pull off some incredible stunts that have taken the franchise to a whole new level. I guess that explains why the movie has been such a big hit at the box office. But then again, how dangerous were these stunts? Here are some of the stunts. According to an interview with the stunt team, they introduced stunts that hadn't been that easy to pull off. These included 180s, forward into reverse 180s, reverse into forward 270s, drifting. It's seriously impressive stuff, right? And you can tell that the stunt team behind John Wick 4 is at the top of their game.
For Chapter 4, we wanted to bring the muscle cars back.
We really wanted to do something different.
We're gonna have this sequence around the Arc de Triomphe.
Oh, and let's not forget about the star's commitment to doing his stunts. The Canadian was actually behind the wheel for all of these, which really must have had the angel of death hovering over him, because the level of precision and skill required for these stunts is just mind-blowing. Normal 180s need a lot of track control because the car often just rolls over. Now imagine this plus 270 degrees, reverse 180s. Like, come on.
You know, it was fun. I got to do like forward into a reverse 180, moving and guns, and you know, it takes a lot of some practice. I mean, anybody could do it, you just gotta practice.
No wonder they call him Baba Yaga. Just watching the trailer made fans all think how the hell they managed to pull this off. And trust me, the trailer is nothing compared to the actual movie. Everyone knows the John Wick movies are all about action and adrenaline that keeps you on the edge of your seat. But this was something entirely else. And the most intense of these was the Arc de Triomphe scene. Like, brains melt at that point after thinking how on earth this happened. This isn't a Marvel movie full of CGI, but actual stunts performed by the actor and not a stuntman.
More sequences, different kinds of action. Hallie had the dogs, and I had the horse training. Chad was like, time to train on a horse. And I was like, yes.
Here's how they pulled off that amazing chase scene. To explain the scene without any spoilers, just think of the horse scene at the start of John Wick 3. John's on top of a horse running through the streets while firing shots at all those trying to hunt Mr. Wick down. Now imagine the horse is a car, and apparently the idea was the same as well. According to the head of the stunts team, the whole horse chasing scene was meant to be more of a challenge. Like they thought, what would be the worst place to shoot a horse while having an action sequence? The answer was the subway in New York, and voila, you have the most fantastic sequence in the movie. I mean, things could have gone pretty bad because you had Keanu hanging off the side firing guns. Plus, cars were going past as well, and all it needed was one wrong swerve or the horse to get a little off balance for things to get messy. I'm talking about broken bones, blood, and the idea of Keanu Reeves getting seriously injured. So yeah, that's how high the stakes were.
There was one in particular in the third one where you're wired up Keanu onto a horse.
Yeah.
And I thought, that looked...
That one read easy too, and he rides the horse. It was not
gnarly
easy.
moments in that.
Yeah, that's probably one of the trickier things we've done.
And well, they didn't play it safe this time as well. They wanted to pull off the scene where cars were just rushing past everyone. In the scene, a couple of the thugs get hit by a car. Basic, but remember, no CGI. So if you had a slight brake failure, which is pretty common, you'd have wrapped up production. We all know what happened at the rush shoot with Alec Baldwin. That's why Keanu had to spend 3 to 4 hours trying to choreograph that scene, and that's why it looks so damn good. Like, no comparison. But what about the other John Wick films?
So, you want to kill him? You want to kill him? I want to kill him. What about you, Mr. Vic?
I'm going to kill you.
Each film has built upon the previous one, each with better and riskier stunts. I don't know how they do it, but they always outdo themselves. The filmmakers just never shied away from pushing the boundaries of what is possible on screen. And John Wick 4 took things even further, though it all started from just normal action sequences. Okay, maybe it's a bit disrespectful to call them normal, but with the level of the stunts in the fourth film, it seems pretty reasonable.
I'm just impressed by how the action is captured more than anything else, I think, and just the flow of the camera movements going alongside, and it all feels very natural. You feel really part of the action. It's not relying on camera shake and too much. It's really relying on the performance of the actors, so that always struck me.
It consisted mainly of gunfire, people being thrown through walls, boxes breaking, you know, just the usual stuff. In the second film, things took a bit of a turn because the franchise had gained quite a bit of fame at this point. The sequences were better choreographed, more things were being broken and blown up. A good thing about these John Wick movies is the flow of the moves. It feels more like watching a performance than a fight, and I mean that in a good way. It's just so smooth. So far, the car chase sequences were typical, but they directed them brilliantly. The sequel could have improved this if they hadn't used most of their budget on the party scenes. But the third film, well, that's where things got better. You were already familiar with the horse riding scene, and I think it sums up the improvement. But those are just the John Wick films. What about the other franchises? Compared to other action movies like the Fast and the Furious franchise, John Wick 4's driving sequences are a cut above the rest. Obviously, what sets this apart from other movies is its emphasis on practical stunts, like actually performing them. Other films heavily depend on CGI and special effects, but that's not the case here. Not only are the stunts impressive, but they also add to the film's overall feel. When you see Keanu hurtling down the street in a muscle car, you know that it's him behind the wheel. You just feel a whole other level of appreciation for the film. That's why it's so loved. Plus, another thing that separates this franchise from all other action films is that it's so much more than just the stunts.
Yeah, well, I would say that that would be the first surprise, but hope. You know, when we made the first John Wick, I thought it was a pretty cool movie, and I love the character since the beginning. I mean, that's why he was doing it.
Like, it has a good storyline, good acting, a good soundtrack, and a great lead actor. That's why fans love the trilogy. And well, John Wick 4 is no different. Here are the fans' reactions to the film. The film blew up at the box office, earning $150 million in less than a week. And for reference, the first film made $86 million in its lifetime. Now that's what I call progress. So much for all the haters who said they're milking the franchise at this point. And it's not just a box office hit, but a hit with the critics as well. The movie has an IMDb rating of 8.4 and is certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes with a score of 94%. Pretty decent. Still, the film is relatively new, and many haven't watched it yet. But given how well it's doing, I think it's pretty safe to say that it's a massive hit.
So sit back, see it on the big screen, eat some popcorn, and John Wick.
That's all for me on how and why John Wick went too far with its car stunts.